On this episode of Let's Explore This, you will be introduced to a small city nestled in the southern reaches of western North Carolina. That city is Brevard. First, we do need to get there. And if you're like me and coming from the Silva area, likely the best way to get there is via the Blue Ridge Parkway. Surely it would be the most scenic. By the way, if you're like afraid of heights, you would probably be best to avoid the Blue Ridge Parkway. Not a single stretch of it is even close to being level with anything that could be called flat ground. In about the 20 miles or so the road takes from Waynesville to the road we will need to exit, you'll reach elevations of about 6,000 feet. In fact, reportedly, this region holds the highest elevation on the entire parkway. After driving about 20 or so miles down the parkway, we need to turn left at this intersection. Now, the earliest inhabitants of this region were, of course, Native Americans. And after the Revolutionary War, the area was opened to immigrant settlement. Pioneers came down the Great Wagon Road from Pennsylvania and Virginia, or moved westward from the North Carolina coast. They came to this wild western frontier to claim new lands, to purchase land for speculation, for adventure, or even to escape the fever of the low country. Each of the diverse populations that came here contributed to the identity of Transylvania County, becoming a part of the tapestry that came to be Brevard. Brevard, it is a community surrounded by nature, by the Pisgah National Forest. And this road here, it is the Pisgah Highway, another more local but still scenic road. And on our way down it, there is something you need to see. Sliding Rock Recreation Area. I wonder what that's about. Hmm, a $5 per person fee, apparently, to enter the area. However, the road for that is a short distance down that way. We're not paying the fee. In fact, we're going to walk down this here trail and see what this is all about. So, bear with me here. Very carefully, I am descending this very, very steep trail. I mean, it's very steep. On top of that, I am holding this camera. And I can't really hold on to anything on my way down, so let's see what we can do here. Well, you know what? I will just have to turn this camera off.
Well, I safely did get down, and here is Sliding Rock. I guess this is Sliding Rock. And it does look like a kind of cool place to, slide your butt down if you want. It's like a little bitty slide. But the thing I want to know is, well, what river are you?
Apparently, it's on this creek called Looking Glass. Huh. Anyhow, eventually, further down the Pisgah Highway, you will come to follow the Davidson River and pass the Davidson River Recreation Area. This recreation area, it is listed as being in Brevard, though not at all in the city limits. Regardless, I am now in that very recreation area. Here, there is something you need to see. This trail, it is not like any trail. You see, this trail, it is named Exercise Loop Trail. That means, I guess, this is the trail for people who live in the area, tourists, locals alike, I imagine, where they can get their cardio in. Beyond that, though, it is a relatively beautiful trail. It follows the Davidson River. Still, though, we have yet to reach the little city. Not far from this recreation area, you will come across this intersection. Here, we need to turn right. Before we do that, though, this must be said. Brevard, it is sometimes called the land of waterfalls, as this and this brochure illustrate. However, most of those are not exactly as close to the city limits as you might originally think. You see, this here is a map all the way from Highlands to Brevard along Route 64 and up along the Pisgah Highway. You can find lots of waterfalls of all shapes and sizes. In fact, a few impressive ones can be found in the Lake Toxaway and Gorges State Park area. However, those are out of bounds for this episode. Even towns so close, like Ecusta or Pisgah Forest, are out of bounds. However, just so that you can see a waterfall, a fairly impressive one, there is one right along this road about 10 or so miles from Brevard. And I guess it's a somewhat popular one because along this stretch of road, there is this rather large parking area. I imagine this parking area would not be here for some scrawny run of the mill falls. It must be impressive, right? Well, let's see. So, here in the Pisgah National Forest, we have what they call the Looking Glass Waterfall. Before we see the waterfall, however, here you can read a little bit about the lumber industry. It is not something that will be covered too much during our tour of Brevard. It is more fit for Pisgah Forest and other nearby towns, but it is none the less important to the region's economy. So, the falls. Here they are. The falls and creek are both named Looking Glass, so named due to a rock on which, in the winter, water freezes along its sides. And in the sunlight, that frozen water glistens like a mirror or a looking glass. Now, yes, there is this pathway. It leads right down here, all the way down the mountainside, down to the bottom of the waterfall. So, what do you say we go down there to get a close up view? Here, I am going to turn off lecture mode, meaning you will get sound. A waterfall, that is something you need to hear.
And over here we have a sign, don't move the rocks. Moving the rocks will destroy the homes of many important fish, insects, and salamanders. So I guess fish and salamanders and that probably lay their eggs beneath a lot of these rocks here. I mean, you would have to be pretty strong to move these. I mean, they're big boulders. Hey, look, they probably came down from up there and they just fell down here over time. But anyway, there you have it. Looking Glass Falls.
Just one of a number of waterfalls in Transylvania County. Awesome, huh? Well, before Transylvania ever became a county, manufacturing in this region, it was a family enterprise. The Gillespie family operated a gunworks in East Fork, about 11 miles south of Brevard. There was Jimmy Neal, who made fur hats here in Oak Grove, and Fleming Whitmire, maybe this person, he built wagons in Middle Fork. During the Civil War, the Davidson River Iron Works, operated by George Shuford, became an important source of military supply for the Confederate Army. Or for the mill it was mined on the nearby Boylston Creek. Nearby, yes, but still out of bounds for this episode. Here, though, at the Davidson River, we are in the Icusta and Pisgah Forest area. You're seeing it here only because it is on the way. Back now to this intersection. This road here, it is the Asheville Highway, and not too far down you will come to this fork here, with the road extending that away being the old Hendersonville Highway. Here we have already entered the little city, with the road now being called Broad Street. After going straight for a short bit, it should be safe to say, at this intersection with Main Street, we have reached the city core. And so, after the Civil War, speculators bought land here for as little as $1 an acre from the war impoverished native landholders who were not aware of its true value. Families who needed money to pay delinquent taxes and restock the farm sold thousands of acres, which was used for timber harvesting and mining. Within the city of Brevard, there are two recognized historic districts and a number of recognized landmarks. All of those are eligible to receive their own episodes. For this particular episode, we are going to be focusing on a more generalized history of the city. The document for the Main Street Historic District will be used, given it provides the most in-depth analysis of how the city began. What will not be covered, however, is the architectural context. That is for another episode that deals directly with the Main Street Historic District. Of course, though, you will most certainly see a number of sites within the city. Maybe a brief description of this or that building may be included. That all depends on what that part dealing with the historic background provides. Firstly, though, we need to talk about the county itself, like what's in a name? After all, why name a county after where Dracula lived? Is the county that creepy? I mean, it certainly is remote and probably does have a few places that could be called creepy, like where maybe some local version of Dracula could build his castle. After all, there is a nearby Bat Cave, though it's not in Transylvania County. There is, however, a problem, though. Apparently, the first edition of Dracula was published in 1897. Transylvania County, the one in North Carolina, not the one in Romania, was formed in 1861, over 30 years before Dracula reportedly first appeared. So, It then really couldn't have any relation, could it? I don't know, but reportedly the name Transylvania, it is derived from Latin words meaning across the woods. Interestingly, the name holds the word silva, which means woods, many miles away in another western North Carolina county. The town of Silva can be found. Apparently, though, its name has nothing to do with woods. Reportedly, it was named after a person. Some even say that's a mystery. Okay, so Transylvania County, the one in North Carolina, it was formed on February 15th of 1861 from parts of Henderson and Jackson counties. This little city of Brevard, it was selected as the county seat soon after, but was not officially incorporated until 1867. It was named for Colonel Ephraim Brevard, a Revolutionary patriot. Braxton C. Lankford, Leander S. Gash, and Alex English, possibly this person, donated 50 acres total for the town of Brevard, which was laid out by James Killian, possibly this person, William Probart Poor, and Charlie Patton, possibly this person. Land for the public buildings and 3 churches were set aside. The remaining lots, they were sold at public auction. The original layout of the town centered around the intersection of Main and Broad streets, forming what came to be known as the public square. In the summer of 1928, North Broad Street was paved down Jailhouse Hill, a hill which I assume refers to the stretch that extends north past the courthouse. The dirt was moved with horses and drag pans. Yes, this photo here, it is reported to have been taken in the summer of 1928. You know, though, 79 lots fronting 10 streets formed the core of the downtown, most of which are now within the boundaries of the nationally recognized historic district. The first courthouse, it was a small wood frame building completed in 1866, built by contractors George Clayton, possibly this person, and Ephraim England, possibly related to this person. Only a few frame houses and commercial buildings existed in the town by 1867, and at that time the population, it was just a mere 50 residents. Both this photo and this photo are from the 1880s. Due to the economic difficulties which resulted from the Civil War, this present brick courthouse, it was not completed until 1874, the first brick structure to be built in the town. With the completion of the county courthouse, Brevard, it rapidly became the governmental and political center of the county. Yo, look, I found a crosswalk in the form of a piano. Wow, you don't see those every day. Before the arrival of the railroad, the economic mainstays of the county were agriculture, livestock, and grist mills. With no railroad and poor roads, the population of the county settled primarily here in Brevard, where access to the town for business, legal, and political transactions at the courthouse was close by. And Brevard, it remained as a small mountain community until the arrival of the Hendersonville and Brevard Railroad in 1895, and then its building and population boom began. It wasn't until the resort community of Lake Toxaway and the town of Rossman developed at the turn of the century that more intensive settlement began in other parts of the county. Like many other western North Carolina communities, the natural beauty of Brevard and of Transylvania County drew tourists to the area, creating the need for more substantial brick commercial buildings, hotels, and boarding houses to house these summer visitors. These summer visitors, though, they were not new to Transylvania County. Summer colonies in the Dunn's Rock area, close to the South Carolina border, drew visitors to the area as early as the mid 19th century from the Low Country. Brevard, though, it didn't see its wave of the tourism industry until the railroad made the town more accessible after 1895. By 1899, the town was booming, boasting a population of 300, and with many major buildings in the downtown completed soon after. The McMinn and the Picklesheimer families were some of the earliest developers in town, developing large expanses of brick buildings at the turn of the century, with the buildings made to face Main Street to help create the physical corners of the courthouse square. Yes, these buildings were the first to begin replacing the earlier wood frame structures, indicative of the rise in economic prosperity for the town. In 1899, lots in town sold for $300, and two trains arrived daily. By the way, this building here, built circa 1905, is part of the so-called Picklesheimer block, and this building, it is the McMinn Building, a structure dating back to 1899. In fact, the McMinns developed this building at the northwest corner of the square, and soon thereafter, this hotel, the Atherwold Hotel, on the southeast corner, and the Picklesheimer family, they developed the row of buildings here at the southwest corner of the square. And the 1881 courthouse, well, it sits here at the northeast corner. According to the 1903 North Carolina Yearbook and Business Directory, the population of Brevard increased to 584. There were 5 hotels and boarding houses, 1 bank, 1 barber shop, 3 blacksmiths, 1 bookstore, 3 contractors, 6 clothing stores, 1 dentist, 5 physicians, 1 furniture store, and much more. A 1907 Brevard Board of Trade publication noted that there were 5 hotels in town, including the Athelwold, the Henning Inn, the Clayton Hotel, the Moore Hotel, and the Brevard Hotel. Then, the town, by 1910, had water and sewer systems, a telegraph and telephone system, 5 miles of paved sidewalks, a fire department, a bank, newspapers, and more. In fact, the Sylvan Valley News, later the Brevard News, was one of the earliest newspapers in the town of Brevard. Information on the town in 1899, presented in the document, and then on this episode, reportedly comes from an article from the Sylvan Valley News. However, it can also be found under the title Brevard's First Boom 1899 in the Transylvania County Centennial 1861 to 1961. And you know what, folks? I think it's time for a milkshake, don't you? I found this ice cream parlor here in Brevard, Kilwin's. Let's take a walk in there and see what they've got. What is that? Peanut brittle nutcracker sweets? Popcorn stuff? Then over here, what are those? Sea salt caramel twists. Wow, one with dark chocolate too. Ooh, and those candy apples. A pecan turtle apple. What kind of candy apple is that? Moving over here, we've got all this fudge. Look at all that sweet stuff. Wow, that's one large chocolate bunny. And next to it, I guess, lots of sweet stuff adorned with sea salt. Yup, lots of stuff so perfect for Easter. That must be why there's all this bunny rabbit stuff here. Look at all those rabbits. Chocolate, vanilla, everything, I guess. But all I want is a milkshake. So let's check these flavors out. Yeah, it appears they've got ice cream cakes too, apparently. So I got for myself a Kilwin's Mud milkshake. I know, sounds a bit gross, but it's really great. It's made with like vanilla ice cream, but I also think it's got chocolate and I don't know, a little bit of caramel maybe, and well, mud. So, yes, definitely, as I said, this is one really good milkshake. You wouldn't think so, being made with Kilwin's very own brand of mud, but it is. It's great stuff. And apparently, I guess you can even order these online. Ice cream through the mail. I wonder how that works. Anyhow, as I'm sitting here at this table drinking my shake, I came across this interesting little place right over there. Brevard hemp. Weed, anyone? Now, back to more Brevard history. By 1911, the population grew to 1909. At that time, there were two drugstores, including McPhee's Drugstore, once located at a corner store in this building, 13 general stores, and two livery stables, including one at this building, with the original livery stable here being the large stone section at the rear built circa 1910. But uh, there were like some people hiding down that alley, so I didn't really want to hang around there with a camera. Still, though, I did not see a large stone section at the rear of the building. Then again, maybe it's hard to spot. I have no idea where or how big it might be. But we do have this section here on the front that is of stone. Is that any coincidence? So, Brevard, it continued to grow with the population by 1920 being 1,658. In addition to the thriving commercial operations downtown, there was one cotton mill in the town, one newspaper, and one bank, the Brevard Banking Company. This building, as it stands today in 2023, designed in 1924 by Hendersonville based architect Earl Stillwell. At that time, there were also 10 attorneys, and a testament to the fact that Brevard it continued to serve as the political and legal center of the county. Even with the Depression, the population in Brevard continued to grow, reaching 2,339 by 1930 and 3,061 by 1940. Many businesses did remain open during the 1930s, but some did close. The two tanning industries, the Rossman Tanning Extract Company and the Toxaway Tanning Company, which Joseph Silverstein had developed at the turn of the century, played a major role in helping Brevard and Rossman, located about 10 miles away, through the Depression. These industries, for the most part, remained active through the 1930s. Very few of the employees lost their jobs. Even when the plants had to shut down for a few days at a time due to lack of work, Silverstein was able to pay his workers. Both of these, the Toxaway Tanning Company and the Rossman Tanning Extract Company, were not located in Brevard, but rather in the nearby town of Rossman, therefore taking you to those locations of where those industries stood is beyond the scope of this particular episode. As for the Brevard Lumber Company, however, that's a different story. It was located right here, but it closed down in 2008. having been in operation for almost a century. You see, it began in 1910 and also remained open during the Depression years. By 1938, it had become fully operational again. Logging and tanning companies were the largest employers of the county through the 1930s when the timber ran out. And that brings us to this photo here. It is of a white squirrel. I guess they live in trees. I don't know. This photo was provided just in case I did not come across one during my time here. And I hate to say it, I did not come across one. I did not see one. But certainly, I also did not have the time to go looking for one. Not sure of how many are present, but you can read about their presence here. They are definitely a unique species, reportedly and likely not native, but have since made Transylvania County their home. Next up, we have, well, first, it was the Brevard Institute, as shown in this 1895 photo, but it closed in 1933. Then, in 1934, it became the Brevard College. When the college was formed, many of the buildings were remodeled. The stone wall and gate around the campus, whose construction is shown in this photo, was built in 1937. This here is an old photo of Taylor Hall. I believe it shows the original frame structure. You see, this building, it was later bricked and turned into this. There it is, over the, well, not so fast. Don't go looking for it anymore, because in 2015, this is what happened to it. Yeah, you can find buildings here. Apparently, though, all or most of them are new. Regardless, though, the remodeling and construction work done on the college campus during the Depression years did provide some employment, both privately and through the Works Project Administration. This here is a photo of a typing class taken at the college, likely dating from the early 20th century. And then we have this, an old photo, also of a class in Brevard College, this one being of a home economics class. Beginning as an elementary school for girls called the Epworth School, it eventually came to allow boys. Now, with Brevard College out of the way, we can move on to another school. In 1928, a frame building was constructed as an elementary school to house African American children, a Rosenwald school. A frame school building burned in 1941. Then it was replaced by what you see in this photo. Though in Brevard, the document does not cover it, so I never put it originally in my itinerary. However, it is an important structure and should be mentioned. Reportedly today, it is the Morris Education Center. And finally, we come to this, the Augusta Paper Mill. It was built in 1938, giving yet another boost to the county's economy. The mill, it was located in Augusta. Yes, I know, it's so close. So close, in fact, I had to pass it on my way here. Still, though, it's a separate community. The location of the mill, yeah, I'm afraid, it's beyond the scope of this episode. While economic conditions in the county were not the best during the Depression years, as was everywhere in the country, the fact that many people remained employed did help businesses in downtown Brevard to stay open. During the late 1930s and early 1940s, federal work programs in the form of the Civilian Conservation Corps and the Works Progress Administration did begin to assist others in need. Transylvania County was an ideal place for the Civilian Conservation Corps to work, since there was extensive forest land for Corps training camps and forest rehabilitation work, which needed to be done in overlogged areas. The Blue Ridge Parkway, a portion of which does run through the county, was also started in the 1930s as another Conservation Corps project. So, folks, here I am not exactly certain if I am standing in Transylvania County or not. I don't think so. Still, there is something here along this stretch of the Blue Ridge Parkway that you do need to see. There is an overlook here called Glassy Ridge Mine, elevation 5,250. Wow, that's high. But tell me, where is the mine? If I walk down there somewhere, will I find the entrance to a mine? I want to know because I want to explore a mine. However, today, even if I did find it, I would have no time for that, and it would almost certainly be beyond the scope of this episode. I would have to put it away for another. But as in most communities throughout the country, World War II did significantly boost the economy and assist greatly in full economic recovery. Downtown Brevard, it experienced another wave of development into the 1940s and early 50s when many buildings, such as this one, were remodeled in that style of the day, and new businesses opened downtown. Movie theaters, a bowling alley, and a skating rink, which were located in downtown buildings, indicated the continuing social center role downtown Brevard came to play for the local community. Yes, at one of the corners here of Broad and Morgan reportedly once stood a skating rink. Hell, the Sylvan Valley News had an ad for it way back in 1908. Okay, folks, somebody has to answer this question. So here we have a vacant lot. Was there once a bowling alley here on this lot? Yes, this inquiring mind wants to know. Downtown, though, in the 40s and 50s, it was filled on Saturdays. Stores, yes, they often remained open late into the evening. Drugstore soda shops were filled in the afternoons and weekends as gathering places. The library services within the town greatly expanded in the 1940s, including the beginning of a bookmobile service in 1949, which is the year this photo appears to be from. So that brings us to here, the Transylvania County Library. When talking about the library, then, why did I not initially take you here? Well, it turns out this was not the first library. Reportedly, this was a building started by the Transylvania chapter for the United Daughters of the Confederacy, and this building, it was located near the gazebo in what is today the Veterans History Museum of the Carolinas. The post office was built in 1940 under the Federal Works Administration. Yes, this was at one time the post office. In fact, it operated here for more than 30 years until the Postal Service moved to this building on West Main Street in early 1972. Then this building, it was renovated and expanded, and it served as the library until it relocated down the road to this lot here in 2006. And you know what, folks? Hmm, what do we have over here? Right on this corner of the lot. What is this? Some kind of amphitheater? Hey, these are cool. Let's walk down these. Oh, yeah, it says, please watch your step. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to fall, so yes, I'm gonna watch my step. But let's take a walk down these. These are cool. I mean, who puts these here? Let's go down to the bottom and get a view from below this amphitheater like thingy, right here on the grounds of the library. Guess what? That's what this thing is. It's definitely an amphitheater. You know how I know that? Well, yes, it looks like one, but also because it says so right here. The Athenaeum, sponsored by Jack and Carol King. The Athenaeum. Wow, that makes me feel like I'm in Greece. Overall, though, downtown Brevard, it was the center of social life for the community. It held parades, grand openings of new stores, and two thriving movie theaters through the late 1950s, drawing the population into town. While the major building boom had occurred before World War II, there were several new buildings and businesses which did open in the mid 20th century. And these days, today, even I guess in 2024, Brevard is experiencing a second wave of commercial prosperity, due once again to the development of summer resort communities and the beginnings of the renovation of many of the downtown buildings. Yet the town still does remain as the governmental, commercial, and cultural center of the county. What we have here is the Brevard Music Center, founded in 1936. It is one of the oldest and finest summer music institutions in the country. The campus encompasses more than 145 buildings, which are spread over 180 mountainside acres. You can read more about it here. Sure, there's a lot more to Brevard I could cover, but I hate to say it, time has run out. That's all I have time for on this episode, so you know the drill. We must move on.